Hello and welcome to week 11 of J241 Electronic Media Copywriting. Obviously, we have to go through some things to catch you guys up in light of the recent pandemic, the COVID-19 crisis that we're all going through. So let's proceed. First thing I want to say is just to leave you with a little bit of wisdom here. And I know maybe some of you guys aren't very religious, so not meant to be that way, but I think these words are certainly appropriate today. And so I want to leave you with some positive sort of thinking here. This is the serenity prayer. As we know, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, obviously, we want to take care of ourselves and do all the things that we're asked to do. Social distancing, certainly, and if you're sick, you should certainly not be near anybody. There are some dark sides to that. Obviously, now here we are, the social media society, where we've kind of built this separation through some of the technology we've cultivated here as a people, which is sort of ironic now that we can't, we're not allowed to be close to people. So I would say we have to embrace that sort of idea. But we can manage things emotionally. So I want to kind of leave that with you guys here. It really comes down to your perception of how things are going and take charge. I'd say that's the thing that I want to say to you guys. And I'm not going to be deterred by this virus. I'm going to try to give you guys the best possible class experience I possibly can in spite of everything. So I've spent a fair amount of time here thinking about how I'm going to bring this to you guys, bring this home to you guys in such a way that's still meaningful and supportive of your larger goal, which is, of course, to either become a copywriter or at least finish college, right? So that said, another one here, I looked around on the line, I found this one as well. Worst case, it's sort of another way of thinking about this statement here. Don't let the coronavirus take you over emotionally and physically. So obviously, physically, we can control the things that we need to do to wash our hands, 20 seconds or more. And then, of course, also just some of the other things we've talked about as well, if you got a cough or things like that. But I guess the other piece that no one's really talking a lot about is that the emotional sort of toll it takes on people, especially since you've been in the house with maybe by yourself or with just a limited number of people, given your situation. Reach out to people and be supportive, but there's things you can do to control kind of your take on things and try to put a positive spin on things. I will say this also, just last thing here, if you need someone to talk to, I'm certainly here for you. You guys have my number. It's 262-490-7493. If you want to chat, you're feeling down, or you have a question about the class or anything else, I'm here for you. 247 pretty much. So with that, let's proceed here with what's going on in class. So now we're going to be online. So this is kind of how I handle my other online courses. Every week I post some kind of a video and I start with kind of an agenda. So this will be what we do here, similar to what we do in class face-to-face. So today we're going to do some greetings, and obviously we're going to go through some syllabus updates. Now I've made some posts to our Canvas site, but I thought it'd be important for us to also kind of embrace it and make sure you guys are aware of kind of what's going on and what's due. Really not that strenuous, obviously, if you think about the time we have between now and May 5th. May 7th-ish, early May, when things are generally due. So we have a lot of time to get things done, but there's some changes we'll have to make and make peace with for us to get there. So let's talk about that today. Also want to talk about TV Ed 2, which is coming up this coming week, week 11. So we'll talk more about that again. And then I want to kind of go through again the FAQs and some of the changes that we'll be dealing with through this crisis. And how you handle those, some FAQs for what you might be thinking about right now. Gosh, how I'm going to handle X. We'll talk about the preliminary pitch as well, which is hasn't changed much at all. You'll have to have a client, obviously, first to do that, but then you'll want to create some ideas, some concept ideas for that. And that's also, again, due on the 5th. And then anything else we'll talk about at the end. So that's kind of our agenda for today. And like I said, again, every week I'll publish these. Generally, I try to do these on Sundays, so you have a chance to react to those. And then usually things are due at midnight, 11:59 on the date of. So I make it a little easier for you guys that way as well. All right, so I did publish an updated, my third or fourth version of this thing now, given the changes we've been through. But this should be it, I think, for the semester, given now we're going to be totally digital throughout probably at least the rest of the semester and into the summer. So take a look at that. Those are all updated on Canvas and with the new due dates in there. And I think I've got everything figured out with regard to due dates, on the Canvas site itself. So week 11 here, we've got some things due. TV Ed 2 is due. That's due Tuesday. 31st, so that's coming up. And then we've got 2 things also due on Sunday the 5th, which is your client meeting, which is April 5th. So if you haven't done that already, I know a lot of you guys already had a start on that. So, but those of you who haven't actually found a client yet, you've still got some time to do that. Now we're not going to meet with face-to-face with clients anymore unless you know somebody, or maybe it's your parent. Like we said before, you can have your parent be one of your clients, so that might be an easy one to do. So get creative with that. I'm going to give you some extra runway here with regard to client selection. So ping me via email if you haven't picked with a client yet and you're still struggling with that piece. And then, of course, right behind that on that same date is your preliminary pitch. So you want to kind of time that accordingly. Week 12, getting back on track with things again here. From a due standpoint, next week we're gonna talk about print ad basics. So I'm gonna create a lecture, and we're gonna have a class assignment that you'll do. Now, usually this is done in pairs, but this is obviously going to be done individually now. So I'm going to ask you to create an ad. So I'll do a full lecture on how to write for print. So we'll have a crash course on print advertising next week. And then, of course, the print ad is due on Sunday, April 12th at midnight. So that's week 12, pretty much top to bottom. Now, along the way here, you'll be working with, obviously, work on your projects, your main projects. So you'll have that to work on as well. And we'll also have some other lectures on presentation best practices and other things like proofreading tips and stuff that we were going to do anyway. So that's week 12. Week 13. Now, obviously, we're making a change here as well. If you haven't noticed already, we're not going to be writing an actual peer evaluation. Everything now is going to be happening online, which I'll talk about more in the next slide. But we'll talk about peer evaluations and how to write an executive summary. And then we'll talk a bit about writing good dialogue in week 13. And of course, you'll be working on those final projects along the way. So again, like I said, if you've got a good start on your final project already, you'll be in good shape for the remainder of the semester. All right, so this eye chart here, this next one here, is where a lot of triage happened, a lot of changes. Primarily, it's just making room for some changes regarding, now we had 4 days plugged in for presentations in class. Now I prefer that. Certainly would love to have you guys present in class, and I think that's a very valuable experience for students. That said, we can still, I think, capture a good experience online. I do teach Speech 110 online, so I know this will work, what we've got planned here, and we'll talk more about this. But so week 14, what's due is your progress report. So that's that one sheet or one page summary of how things are going. And obviously you want to be candid about that. It's almost like like it's meant to be a note to your boss, who would be me at this case. Due Tuesday, April 21st at midnight. I'd also like you to have solid drafts. Now, when I used to say, before this all happened, just write it out. Don't script it. I'm going to have you guys get those scripts done, okay, as much as you possibly can. That's the big change here, just in the interest of time, because we're going to have you guys turn those scripts over to students from Communication 239, the production course, so they can actually make your ads, radio ads. So that's one thing. So prioritize the radio ads, I would say, first. If you can get them done earlier than the 21st, that's great. I'll be having a list coming out to you guys about who you're paired with in an upcoming email. So the radio script, certainly I would say focus on that first, getting that done, and then you want to get that over to your partner on the production side so they can get working on that project. Of course, your TV ad and storyboard are also due. I'd say get as much of that done, down to as much detail as you possibly can. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some critique on that stuff. That'll be what we would have done in our conference reports. So I'm going to give you some feedback on where you're at with your project. So get it as far down the path as you possibly can, and I'll give you some notes and some thoughts on my part to make it better, hopefully. Okay, so that's a big date, the 21st, right? You got to make sure you got all your stuff in there: radio ad, the TV ad, and the storyboard. And then, of course, along the way here, those scripts will for your radio ad, you'll want to get those over to your partner, which I have not announced yet, but those will come out. All right, some other changes here. So again, the 22nd is really, 21st, 22nd is kind of that time frame where I'd like you to get your radio scripts done and over to the 239 students. So I'll send you information on those. And then between the 22nd and May 5th, you'll have time just to work on those projects. There will not be a lot of lecture because there wasn't supposed to be anyway, so there's not a lot of content there. And certainly I'll be here for you if you have any questions regarding your final projects as you work on these, so you have oceans of time to work on these projects. But try to hit that 21st date as much as you can to so you stay on track with everything. And I can give you feedback on that, and you can kind of use that feedback and make this the best campaign ever. Okay, so week 16, here's kind of an important piece. Now, there's information on this stuff as well in Canvas, but I'll walk through this quickly with you guys here. May 5th is the due date for everything now. Okay, so again, final project, all materials, and we'll talk about what those are again. And then your video posted by Thursday, May 5th at midnight. Now, I've created 4 teams, which we'll discuss, right? But I've created 4 teams of generally 5 or 6 students. So you're going to be part of a group now where you'll be posting your videos to a discussion thread. And each student will be required then, of course, to also review each peer within their discussion post group by May 7th. So May 5th and May 7th are 2 big drop dead dates. Okay. So posting those students, you'll use Kaltura, and there's information now in Canvas for how to do that. It's pretty easy once you figure it out. So you're going to want to record yourself making your presentation. Okay. So generally what I want to do in this case here, I'd like you to have, if you're quarantined with somebody, or if you're holed up with somebody at this time still, and maybe you're not, but either way, we're going to be doing this digitally. If we're lucky enough to be out and about, you can do this anywhere you wish. But I'd like you to have as many folks in your audience as you possibly can muster. So I know you're presenting to somebody, and then of course, you'll want to use digital means to make presentations. Let me know if you have any questions on that there, but generally I'm expecting you guys to create and post your videos by Thursday, May 5th. You'll have 2 days then to react to that, and you'll want to go into your peer review folder or your discussion post rather, and that's when you'll want to levy your sort of feedback to each person in that group. Okay, last thing here, final exam. Same due date there, May 12th. Again, that'll more than likely be digital because we're not going to be meeting face-to-face unless some massive change happens. So more on that, but that's eerily similar, like I've mentioned before, eerily similar to the midterm we took where you had to write a radio ad, just so you know. All right, let me know if you have any questions on these changes. But let's talk about TV Ad 2, which is coming up. That's obviously due on Tuesday, March 31st. For a local business, you don't have to go meet with them, so that's pretty easy. Pick somebody, not a chain like we discussed, but pick somebody local. Maybe it could be local to your home, your hometown. Maybe you're at home now and you want to do something for Jim's hardware store. Totally fine with that. But we want to kind of get some practice doing TV ads. And obviously now we're doing a script, and we're also doing a storyboard, and we're doing scripts first, and then we're going to make a storyboard second. Okay. So that is due coming up. You guys should have a good handle on that already. We've been working on that for a while already. Before this coronavirus thing hit, it would have been due anyway, so I kind of cut you a break. So going to hold you to that date this coming Tuesday, okay, on TV Ad 2. Other facts, again, just remind you guys, if you haven't started on this, you should get going on it. It's coming up awfully quick. Your ad should consist of 8 to 16 camera shots. And, of course, the storyboard should match the dialogue. And we talked quite at some length about that, so make sure that those are consistent. Don't forget that CG title and split column format, obviously, as well. And you're allowed 1 to be verb total for your TV ad, okay? Have fun with that. Push the envelope. Be as creative as you possibly can, and obviously strategic as well. Maybe you guys have, or maybe you haven't yet, looked at some of these things. We did talk about stuff face-to-face before we had to part ways, and sorry for that, but Pixabay is a great place to get stock photography as well as pixels. And then from a storyboard standpoint, Storyboard That and Canva are 2 good places. We've discussed also how you can do this just using PowerPoint. So I would say that's the easiest way for me to think about things there, is just to use PowerPoint. All right. So the other thing that's due around that same time, so we'll go back to this again here. So your preliminary pitch is due April 5th, this coming Sunday, April 5th. So let's talk about that again. Remind some people had some questions, right? So what you really want to do there, once you've got your campaign, or no, your client selected, right, is to drum up 2 concepts for the client. And I think I used a Station 1 example of the hot dog, beer, and French fry $4 deal. That's a great idea that could fortify 2 concepts. That's one way to think about this, right? So concept 1 could be, like I said before, the gorilla landing in a hot air balloon in the parking lot of Station 1, right? And that could be one concept, and who knows where that goes, right? Maybe concept 2 is a completely different situation, but What you want to do is kind of answer these questions here, right? For each concept. Concept one, the gorilla and the balloon idea, right? What's the radio ad sound like? And answer these questions. And then the TV ad, what's that look like? What's happening here? Just describe it to me. You're not writing it at this point, right? You're pitching a concept to me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you feedback on both concepts, and I'm going to say, hey, so-and-so, I think concept one is stronger, or maybe concept two is stronger, or maybe a combination of the two. I'm not going to have you guys do 4 ads. I'm going to have you write one solid, good, pick a concept and go with it. Okay. So we're cutting a corner there, but that's, just to kind of bring some focus to this, given the COVID crisis and other things. So, all right. So here's our revised timeline. I've done this now twice. So sorry about that, but obviously things have been changing as we move here. So preliminary pitch is now due on the 5th of April. So conferences are no longer. You should have hopefully had a chance to get on the phone. That's one thing I want to talk about too before this preliminary pitch, or around the same time frame. If you haven't done so already, you should try to meet with your client. See if you can get them on the phone, or somebody on the phone with your chosen client. And maybe it's your parent. That's fine. That's much easier. Or somebody you're quarantining with or something. I'm not going to be as a stickler for details on that as I have been. But I do want to have somebody you can actually talk to and help strategize with. That's the whole point of this project, right? So find somebody, if you can, to work with to create this campaign. Conferences have been canceled, right, in lieu of this big date here, 4/21, which is when your completed ads are due. Your radio, your TV, and your storyboard, and your progress report should all be done and into Canvas by midnight on 4/21. I'm going to bounce that around right away. The other piece I should have put in here, but the radio ad, I want you to focus on that first. Try to prioritize that accordingly, and I'll be sending you guys a link to a person you're going to be working with to have them produce it. They're in the same boat as we are. They have to do these things kind of remotely, but I've been told by their instructors that they're ready to go. They're going to make our ads for us remotely. So let's make that happen. And then of course, client meeting number 2, I would say that's could happen all on phone calls now. So all 3 client meetings, we're going to have to kind of make do with those things, right? I'm not going to make you guys meet anybody face to face in this situation, so don't worry about that. But I'd like you to give it the old college try and try to meet with your clients as much as you possibly can over the phone. And then presentations, right? Like I talked about again, 5/5 is your presentation due date. And that's when you'll have to use Kaltura. And there's actually directions in our Canvas site now, kind of how to do that and how to post that stuff. It's a discussion thread. There's 4 teams. Like I said, 6 people per team, 5 or 6, depending on the number. And then you're also meant to use that thread to provide feedback to your peer, which we'll also discuss. All that information is in Canvas if you have any questions about how that looks or how that should work. And the last thing here, I still want you guys to go out and buy a 3-ring binder or find one and create a binder for the client. At some point when this all blows over, you want to hand that to them as well. But let's make sure we follow through on this as much as we possibly can. So first thing you do is you need a client, obviously, right? So if you haven't done so already, hunt around for that and ping me via text or via email, or you can call me if you wish as well if you want to chat. Let's start with email though first, and I can hopefully respond and get you going on that. But we want somebody local, not a chain. I'll say still stick with that. And stay away from B2B if you can. Obviously, if you're going to work with your parent in the B2B, I'll allow it for this, given again the COVID crisis. But ultimately, I'd prefer you guys to pick a B2C company, business to consumer. Again, you want to let them know you're not going to charge them. They need to meet with you over the phone, or maybe it's somebody else. Maybe it's a manager, a frontline manager, or somebody else. Either way, you want to be able to meet with them 3 times and share your work, and then tell them you're going to provide them with a TV and a radio script and storyboard with no extra commercials produced except the radio ad, which is kind of cool. And they can participate if they don't want to, even if they don't plan to advertise. All right. FAQs, just a reminder, again, I'm going to kind of tweak these a little bit based on our situation, but can you work with a partner? Yes, I would say you could still do that. Now, it's not as easy. If you're quarantined and you're not with a partner, or maybe maybe your roommate happens to be also a classmate, that's certainly easier. So I'll allow that. But generally speaking, this is going to be more of a solitary sort of affair, I think, given, again, COVID. Can I use a parent? Yep, absolutely. In this case, especially if you've got a parent who's at home with you, quarantining also, I might give you some opportunities to really spitball and create a great ad campaign. So I would say do that, and certainly you might get more out of working with somebody who's close to you. Can I use my employer as a client? Many people do. So that's an easy, short putt for a lot of folks. So I would say I encourage you to do that. Again, watching out for if it's a chain or not, but nonetheless, I would say that's a good option. My boss is too busy. Can I use someone else at work as the contact person? Yes, that's fine to use an assistant manager or somebody else. One thing I want to talk about too, we're going to hand things out all 100% in digitally now, so don't worry about handing anything in. So printing things like we talked about before, not necessary anymore. We won't be meeting face to face, so get everything into Canvas, into one spot, and then I'll use Canvas, the speed grading tool, to grade your projects. But everything needs to be in there, right? Your 30-second radio ad, your TV ad, your storyboard, all that stuff's got to be in there so I can apply a grade to those on the due date. Executive summary is another one that has to be in there as well by the 5th at midnight. And then the last thing you'll be doing is, of course, providing feedback to your peer group on May 7th. Let's see what else. So obviously you still want to dress nice. All right. We're going to be recording yourself. You guys are going to be recording yourself, giving a 7 to 10 minute speech. And there's this upcoming lecture on some more details on how to present. So don't sweat this right now. But when push comes to shove, I'm going to give you guys some tips and tricks, not only on the digital stuff and how to get the best out of your equipment, but also just, best practices for presentation. So you want to dress nicely, obviously look like you're going to a job interview, and then be organized. And then I would say even practice a few times before you commit to recording. Now, the project you want to give to the client, you still want to do that at the end of everything. I'd like you to kind of strike up a relationship with them, even if you haven't met them before, at the end here, and you can walk in and kind of, hopefully you'll be able to shake their hands at that point, but maybe not. The other way, maybe a fist bump is appropriate. Either way, you want to give them, show them your hard work. All right, so that's kind of in a nutshell. I guess I apologize for the hodgepodge nature of what's happened to this class. It's really a bummer to me, but we're going to make the best of this, okay? Last parting words here, stay positive as much as you can. Obviously, we have to stay 6 feet apart, but I think we can do a lot to reach out to help others. I'm here for you guys. Like I said, again, I make myself available if you have any questions about the class, or if you want to just shoot the stuff about things and you need someone to talk to, I'm here for you. 262-490-7493. I hope you guys are doing great, and I hope everything is going well with your other classes. And thank you for your patience with me through this process. Let me know if you have anything you have questions about, and I will talk to you soon.